right, everybody, what is going on? And welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk. Of course, this is the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. I'm your tour guide around the SWAC, C Wells coming at you. And we're going to recap week five. Week five is in the books. A pretty interesting week of football as usual. Um, all SWAC games on the schedule. So no non-conference games this week, no SWAC games that count as non-conference games, just real SWAC action. And it was pretty interesting. So we're going to talk about all four games that took place. We did have one game that was rescheduled due to the hurricane. Florida A&M and Alabama A&M. That game will be played as stated earlier. That game will be played on November 29th. So definitely got another game coming up later in the season to add to that final week of conference play. But this week, four games on the schedule. And we're going to talk about them all. Also, we have our week 6 pick'em contest. Link is up. Link will be in the description of this video. It is on my Twitter account and in a pinned tweet. I said it all backwards. In a pinned tweet, which my Twitter account is Swag Talk 76. Also, it's on my Instagram and Facebook, both on Swag Talk. Like the video, comment, share your thoughts. And don't definitely, man, if you didn't get a chance to catch our live show, we've been doing lives after the games. Make sure you go back and check out that live show from last night. We did about 30 minutes, so definitely go ahead and check that out. We're gonna probably do that every so often, whenever most of us are available to be on live. So definitely keep it locked here. Hit that notification bell so you can be alerted when those type of videos drop. Also don't forget to subscribe to the channel and comment your thoughts on week 5. So we're gonna jump directly into this. Not gonna waste much time. We're gonna jump into this. And the first game we're gonna talk about is Bethune-Cookman and Alabama State. Hornets defeat the Wildcats by a score of 26-21. This was a game that Bama State led 26-7 in the fourth quarter before Bethune-Cookman scored 2 touchdowns in a short span of time to basically make this game a 5-point game. And then other than that, they couldn't really make much happen. So I always like to kind of go back and look at the play-by-play and recap a little bit of what transpired to get the game in those interesting positions. So Bethune-Cookman got the ball with 11:49. Is that right? No, hold on. Excuse me, y'all. Let me get myself. Okay. Yeah, they got the ball with 11:49 left in the fourth quarter, 11:19 left in the fourth quarter, trailing 26-7. They got the ball at their own 49. Drove down and scored a touchdown, which was a Cam Ransom 1-yard touchdown run. They scored that touchdown with 6:49 left in the game. Extra point was good. Kicked off to Bama State. Bama State returned the kickoff and fumbled at their own 30. Bethune-Cookman got the ball back at the Bama State 21 after a return of 9 yards. And they started that drive at the 21, drove and scored on a 1-yard touchdown run by Courtney Reese. Extra point good. So at that point, with 5:29 left in the game, Bethune-Cookman trail 26-21. Bama State would get the ball at their own 25 and drive down to their own 41 before they punted the ball to Bethune-Cookman, who got the ball with 2 minutes and 4 seconds left on the clock. And they drove down they got to their own 31-yard line. And 4th and 4, opportunity to convert and extend this drive with 1 minute and 41 seconds left in the game. They would get a delay of game penalty, and then they would throw it incomplete on 4th down, and Bama State would run the clock out from there. So Bethune-Cookman had an opportunity to win this game late, similar to last season, where last season they actually were in the red zone and came up short. This game they were trying to drive the field to score the winning touchdown and came up short. Back-to-back weeks, close losses, back-to-back weeks, bad penalties late in the game to kind of deter their efforts of winning. And so Bethune-Cookman drops to 0-5 and 0-1 in conference. Bama State improved. They improved to 2-2 and 1-0 in conference. Looking at the scoring overall, Brandon Gilliam got Bama State on the board first with 9:34 left in the first quarter when he kicked a 49-yard field goal. Uh, AJ Harrell scored on a 1-yard touchdown run for Bama State with 4:08 left in the first quarter to put the Hornets up 10-0. Amari Stewart would catch a 33-yard pass from Cam Ransom. And after the extra point, Bethune-Cookman would trail 10-7. That score came with 52 seconds left before the half. And then with no time left in the first half, Gilliam would kick a 28-yard field goal to make the score 13-7. With 11:41 left in the third quarter, Gilliam would kick his third field goal of the game, this time from 37 yards out. Hornets go up 16-7. With 7:15 left in the third, AJ Harrell will get his second touchdown, this time from 4 yards out. This time a 4-yard pass from Sims to put the Hornets up 23-7. And then with 11:29 left in the game, Gilliam will kick a 23-yard field goal to put the Hornets up 26-7. And then that 14-point burst by Bethune-Cookman happened, and ultimately they would come up 5 points short, losing 26-21. 22 first downs for the Hornets, 18 for the Wildcats. Alabama State, great game running the ball, man. Their running game was on point in this game. 308 yards, averaged 5.6 yards per carry with 1 touchdown. Bethune-Cookman, 99 yards rushing, 32 carries, 3.1 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns. Passing game for Bama State was on the other end of things, 8 of 12 for 78 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Bethune-Cookman, 142 yards passing, 19 of 30, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. 386 yards of offense for the Hornets, 67 plays, 5.8 yards per play. They fumbled once and lost it. 11 penalties for 72 yards for the Hornets. 241 yards of offense for Bethune-Cookman, 62 plays, 3.9 yards per play. They fumbled 3 times and lost 2, so they lost the turnover battle 3-1. That definitely is always going to hurt you in games like this. 41-yard average per punt for Bama State, 29 for Bethune-Cookman. Alabama State was 8 of 14 on third down. They didn't attempt a fourth down. They were 5 of 5 in the red zone. No sacks for the Hornets defense. Bethune-Cookman, 2 of 10 on third down, 2 of 5 on fourth down, 2 for 2 in the red zone, and that defense registered 3 sacks. That defense continues to be one of the top defenses in the league in terms of sacks. Like I said, coming into this game, they led the conference in sacks, even though the defense really struggled in other categories. And just taking a look at things now, they're second. They're tied for first in the league in sacks right now with 15. So they're still one of the top teams in terms of generating pressure as a defense, but they have struggled mightily in all other areas, and that's kind of like, a reason why they're 0-5. It's kind of like a team that shoots 85% from the free throw line, but they shoot horribly from the field and from the 3-point line. So even though you do something that typically translates into wins, the rest of the team just doesn't get it done, and so you just kind of got that caveat on your record. Zach Sims, 8 for 12 for Bama State, 78 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 3 sacks. Ransom, 18 of 28 for Bethune-Cookman, 143 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, no sacks. Jamari Holesclaw had a big game for Bama State, 15 carries, 120 yards. AJ Gates, 9 carries, 74 yards. Daquan Kinsey, 12 carries, 71 yards. They're developing a strong stable of backs, and you throw in Marcus Harris with 9 for 32. They're probably gonna have to lean on this running game a lot this season, since the quarterback situation is kind of up and down. So strong running game for the Hornets there. Dennis Palmer led Bethune-Cookman with 8 carries for 37 yards. Courtney Reese, 7 for 36 and a touchdown. Ransom, 11 for 14. So not that, he had a big game running last week. Not so much this week. AJ Harrell 4 catches, 36 yards for Bama State and 1 touchdown. Eric Horn, 1 for 14. Jalen Jones, 1 for 12. Asa Gregg, 1 for 9. Gates, 1 for 7. Stewart led Bethune-Cookman with 4 catches for 53 yards and a touchdown. Thomas Nance, 5 for 43. Malik Huggins, 3 for 15. Lorenzo Jenkins, 1 for 12. DeMarcus Cunningham led Bama State with 12 tackles on the night. Tackles for loss, Deshaun Jackson had 2 to lead the defense. No sacks. And interception was by Amon Scarborough. Bethune-Cookman was led by Antoine Watts with 11 tackles. They had 4 guys with 1 tackle for loss apiece. Alexander, Hall, Quarles, and Washington. Sacks went to Alexander, Quarles. Alexander had 1 sack. Quarles had 1 sack. Quarles, had 1 sack. And McKenzie and Greaves had a half a sack apiece and no interception. So, again, this was a game that probably looked closer than it may have been because of that little spurt that Bethune-Cookman had in the fourth quarter. They still have to figure out some things because they are, they're kind of teetering on the brink. Yes, they only have 1 conference loss, but they're sitting at 0-5, and they are kind of, they're kind of at a point where they have to find some things positive, and they have to kind of find them in a hurry. So they actually have a bye week this upcoming week, so they can kind of refocus and regroup. Who knows coming out the bye week, what can transpire for you. But Bama State plays Florida A&M on Saturday, so they have a big game coming up at home for their SWAC home opener. And then Bethune-Cookman is off until October 12th when they go to Alabama A&M. So they have to find something and get things right because this non-conference slate has just kind of did them in. And then a bad start to conference play really hurts you there as well. Our next game that we have, and like I say, we moving forward, Alcorn taking on Valley, and this game was an odd game to me in terms of public perception. For whatever reason, people really determined that Alcorn was the underdog in this game for whatever reason. No, again, no shade to Valley, but Valley had not been playing well all season. And Alcorn offensively may not have looked good, but they had 2 FBS games and a game against a McNeese team who is pretty hot right now. Alcorn was labeled as the underdog by a lot of people, and it was kind of funny to me. But strange things happen at Valley, but I don't know how that's gonna be now with the new turf and no 12th man on the field in terms of that grass. But Alcorn had a really good game here, winning 42-21. They jumped out to a 10-0 lead on a Noah Kiani 47-yard field goal and a Damian Jones 11-yard pass from Xavier Vaughn. Valley would get on the board with 1:55 left in the first quarter when Tajarian Williams will run a 1-yard run. Extra point was good, 10-7 at that point. Jacorian Sewell will get a 55-yard run for Alcorn with 12:15 left in the second quarter to make the score 17-7. Xavier Vaughn will get a touchdown run from 5 yards out to put the Braves up 24-7. Valley will actually cut into this lead as the Fabian Fant will get a 10-yard run. Extra point was good. That came with 4:33 left in the first half. Halftime score 24-14. 10:03 left in the third. Alcorn gets a safety, followed up by a Noah Kiani 43-yard field goal. Braves led 29-14. Tavarius Griffin will get a 1-yard run for Alcorn, 36-14. And then Diablo McGee will get a 16-yard pass for Trey Lawrence, name I hadn't expected to see, 42-14 at that point. And then Cameron Nelson will catch a 10-yard pass from Williams for Valley with 36 seconds left in the game to make the final score 42-21. Alcorn 19 first downs, Valley 22. Alcorn 299 on the ground, 41 carries, 7.3 yards per carry with 3 touchdowns. Valley 109 yards on the ground, 35 carries, 3.1 yard per carry with 2 touchdowns. Alcorn, 147 yards passing, 12 of 20. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Valley, 194 yards, 17 of 36. 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions. Again, another multiple interception game. That's 10 interceptions in 2 weeks for Valley. They have just been extremely turnover prone these last 2 weeks in terms of throwing interceptions. Um, you know, when you're struggling, it's hard enough as it is, but to consistently turn the ball over, and they have 14 interceptions on the season. So that's like a season's worth of interceptions already in 5 games. So they really are struggling with ball security. And this was another game that reared its ugly head. 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions, as I said. Alcorn, 446 yards of offense, 61 plays, 7.3 yards per play, no fumbles. Valley, 303 yards on 71 plays, 4.3 yards per play. And they had 1 fumble that they lost, so they turned the ball over 5 times in this game. 9 penalties for 84 yards for Alcorn, 3 for 20 for Valley. Alcorn, 44 yard per punt average, Valley, 36 and a half. Braves, 5 of 12 on third down, 0 for 1 on fourth down. They were 4 or 5 in the red zone, and they had 2 sacks. Valley, 6 of 15 on third down, 1 or 2 on fourth down. They were 3 for 3 in the red zone, and they had 2 sacks. Individually, Vaughn, 8 of 14, 105 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 2 sacks. Lawrence, 4 for 6 for 42 yards and a touchdown. Jaden Sisk, 8 of 18 for Valley, 98 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Tajarian Williams, 9 or 18 for Valley, 96 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He was sacked twice. Big game for Ja'Cory and Sewell. And I said that at some point, the running backs for Alcorn would have to step up because the last few weeks, Vaughn has been the leading rusher. But Sewell, big game here, 12 carries, 164 yards, and a touchdown. Fant, 5 for 28 to lead Valley and a touchdown. Williams, 15 for 27 and a touchdown. Rembert had 3 for 22. Also for Alcorn, Vaughn had 13 carries for 57 yards and a touchdown. Cameron Stewart had 7 for 47 as well. McGee led Alcorn with 4 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown. Griffin, 5 for 50. Carrick Ross led Valley with 6 catches for 64 yards. Cameron Gardner, 4 for 50. Rembert, 4 for 44. Alcorn was led by Stamarion Edwards with 8 tackles. Malachi Bailey had 1.5 tackles for loss and 1.5 sacks to lead Alcorn. Interceptions went to Summerauer with 3 and Smith with 1. So big game for Alcorn secondary. Jordan Bussey led Valley with 8 tackles. Dante Reed had 1.5 tackles for loss to lead the defense, and Reed and Jones each had 1 sack. Interception went to Eric Campbell, and again, 2 teams kind of trying to moving in different directions. Alcorn trying to make some things happen. They had a rough start. Valley is continuing to move the opposite direction. Just a tough start. Just a tough start for Valley this season. Turnovers have really killed them, and they haven't really been able to run the ball. But the defense has given up a lot of yards on the ground these last couple of weeks as well, and that's been a tough task for Valley. Valley also is off this week, this upcoming week, so they have a chance to regroup before they go to Bama State on October 12th. Alcorn gets Pine Bluff at home this upcoming Saturday, so they jump into division play this upcoming week, and Valley has a chance to regroup and kind of find some things to work for them. Moving on to our next game, we have Jackson State taking on Texas Southern. This was another game that was looked at as a possibility for one team to make a statement. TSU was garnering some attention for having a close game against Lamar last week. Jackson State coming off of a loss to Grambling. You knew they would want to come in and try to rectify that situation. And, they dominated this game. before ultimately winning 43-14. TSU would get two fourth quarter touchdowns, but JSU would score again after that and basically put this game away. Two early field goals by Jackson State kind of had this game feeling like TSU could make something happen, but offensively TSU really struggled to find anything consistent. And after two Gerardo Basil field goals, one for 26 and one for 38, JSU led 6-0 with 9:28 left in the second quarter. Uh, Henderson would catch a 33-yard pass from Jacobian Morgan to give JSU a 13-0 lead. That came off of an interception on the previous possession by TSU, and that would be our halftime score, 13-0. JSU would get a 2-yard run from Morgan coming out of the break to put JSU up 20-0. And then Fortillion would catch a 16-yard pass from Morgan with 7:35 left in the third to put JSU up 27-0. And then TSU would get two touchdowns back to back. 17-yard pass from Davis to Leary to make the score 27-7. And then Davis would get a 4-yard run for TSU with 8 minutes left in the game to make the score 27-14. And immediately JSU would answer with a 72-yard run by Jacobian Morgan to make the score 34-14. JSU would get a safety, followed by a 79-yard kickoff return by Terrell to give JSU a 43-14 lead, which would be the final score. 17 first downs for each team. JSU would run the ball for 256 yards on 41 carries, 6.2 yards per carry, and two touchdowns. It's been said by a few people, and I agree. I think JSU should be a team that runs first and throws off of that. Their running game is very solid. When they're able to be successful, I think that helps the passing game a lot. And like I said, they had a really solid game running the ball here. Only lost 10 yards on the night, so really solid effort by the offensive line. And the backs continuing to churn forward for yards and just really positive play for them. 108 yards for TSU on 38 carries, 2.8 yards per carry, and one touchdown. 185 yards passing for JSU, 13 of 22, two touchdowns, no interceptions. Texas Southern, 115 yards passing, 13 of 25, one touchdown, one interception. 441 yards of offense for Jackson State, 63 plays, 7 yards per play. They had one fumble and lost it. They had 6 penalties for 82 yards, 223 yards for Texas Southern on 63 plays, 3.5 yards per play. They fumbled once but didn't lose it. And they had 6 penalties for 39 yards. So honestly, looking at these games so far, the penalty numbers are really down from last week. That's definitely a good thing because last week in all games there were just tons of penalties all over the place. So hopefully that's a turn in a positive direction in penalties for everybody. 39.5-yard average for Jackson State on 2 punts and 34-yard average for TSU on 6 punts. Jackson State finished 7 of 14 on third down, 1 for 2 on fourth down. They were 4 of 4 in the red zone and they had 4 sacks. Texas Southern 1 of 3 on fourth down, 4 of 13 on third down, 2 of 2 in the red zone, and they had 1 sack. Individually, Morgan was 13 of 22 passing, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions with 1 sack. Davis 13 of 25, 115 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and 4 sacks. Morgan led JSU with 10 carries for 96 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mulligan 11 for 76. Davis led TSU with 19 carries for 33 yards. Quinn 6 for 32. Fortillion led JSU with 4 catches for 62 yards and a touchdown. Henderson 3 for 51 and a touchdown. Leary led TSU with 5 catches for 59 yards and 1 touchdown. Reed Pulliam led JSU with seven tackles. Philip Webb, 3 tackles for loss to lead JSU. He also had 1 sack along with Pulliam with a sack, McDaniel with 1 sack, and Nobles with 1 sack. Guthrie had the interception for JSU. Texas Southern was led by Bogarty with 10 tackles. Tackles for loss went to Wright with 1, Williams, Javis Williams with 1, Keelan Cox with 1, Brian Booker with one, and Sincere Massey with one. Sacks were by Cox. No interceptions. Fumble recovery went to Bolden. So you still kind of have to, this was a solid bounce back win for JSU. This was kind of what they needed to come out and basically play a clean game. They had the one turnover, but basically play a clean game, put together a great game on both sides of the ball, and pick up your first SWAC win. TSU still kind of trying to find themselves. Their offense really hasn't really shown a lot. They've done things here and there. Like I said, that Prairie View game was a good game for them offensively, and they played a decent game against Lamar last week, but they just cannot not move the football. That team doesn't have the depth to consistently not move the ball, and when they have to kind of grind it out, it catches up to them. And JSU did what you should do with a team like this, and that's basically put them behind the eight ball and make them have to play a style of ball that they don't really want to play. And that was their undoing in this game. So they jump out of conference again. It's homecoming for TSU this upcoming week, and they play Virginia Lynchburg. So that's a game. They should get their stats. Everybody should have a good time, and you still won't really have a great idea of this team. But that's the game on the schedule, and it's homecoming. They can only play that kind of game at home at their home stadium. So that's the main reason why those games are on their schedule. Jackson State goes to Mobile to take on Alabama A&M on Saturday. So they continue in conference play. They're 1-0. Texas Southern is 1-1 in conference play, and we'll see how these upcoming games take place. The final game of the day, which was just an odd game in terms of just being an extra long game, and that's Prairie View and Grambling. This game kind of mirrored Prairie View's game from last week against Southern, except for this week the Panthers were able to get the win. I thought they played a really spirited second half and overtime. I thought they showed a lot of resolve. I thought the things that I didn't like that I saw from them last week, I thought they did a better job at this week, and they kept themselves in the mix. They're not, they're not out of it yet. They're still in the mix. They still need a lot of help, but they won a very important game, and they got a leg up on Grambling. So for Grambling, it's the total opposite to me. They had a pretty good first half, and then second half, whether it's Miles Crawley is banged up or whatever, the offense just was stagnant, really. And other than the one final drive that they scored on to force overtime, they just still struggle to run the football. And I don't know, what it is, but a lot of what I saw from them in the second half was very, very reminiscent of some of the things I saw from Southern offensively last season. Kind of just throwing the ball to one side of the field, extra long passes, nothing really, to give you guys a chance to make catches and run. Just nothing really consistent. And I think it bit them in the butt. And the play calling in the overtime periods, especially the last three overtimes where they had to just go for two. It was very questionable calls. You got a quarterback who is not the best of runners when he's healthy. You're running him in these situations in overtime, and he's not getting you any yardage. I think that kind of doesn't give you any chance to make anything happen. So you just got to figure out where this team is now. One thing is Grambling's gonna have to find a way to be consistent on offense and defense when they're not forcing turnovers. And this was one of those games where they didn't force a lot of turnovers, and ultimately they just couldn't maintain. But Grambling got on the board first in the second quarter with 14:52 left. when Christopher Simmons caught a 23-yard pass from Miles Crowley, extra point good. Grambling led 7-0. Lamaje McDowell will get a 1-yard run for Prairie View to tie the game up at 7. Then Trey Bradford will give Grambling the lead back with 4:18 left in the second quarter with a 9-yard run. Extra point good, 14-7. And then Reed Harradine will kick a 29-yard field goal with 4 seconds left to send Grambling into the locker room up 17-7 with 9:47 left in the third quarter. Relamo Garcia Rodriguez will kick a 42-yard field goal for Prairie View to bring the Panthers to within 7. And then Jaden Johnson will get a 9-yard run for Prairie View with 13:50 left in the game to tie the score up at 17. And then Connor Wisham will get a 39-yard run for Prairie View to give the Panthers a 24-7 lead with 9:43 left in the game. And then with 38 seconds left in the game, Jalen Johnson will catch a 12-yard pass from Miles Crowley, extra point good, and that tied the game up at 24. Head to overtime. Dedrick Talbert will get a 16-yard run for Grambling to give the Tigers a 31-24 lead in overtime. Shamar Savage will catch a 4-yard pass from Johnson to tie the game up after the extra point, 31 all. That will send us into our second overtime. Both teams would get field goals. Prairie View will get a 35-yard field goal to go up 34-31. And then Harradine will get a 36-yard field goal for Grambling to tie the score up at 34. And then after two scoreless overtime periods, Prairie View will score. Let me make sure I got it in the right order. First off, let's see. Prairie View will start their drive at let's see. Grambling will start their overtime, and they will come up short. Prairie View would get their possession, and they had an incomplete pass, but Grambling was called for holding, and they put the ball at the 2-yard line. And then Lamaje McDowell will get a touchdown. Well, we'll get a 2-point conversion attempt to give the Panthers a 36-34 victory in a game that was very just was a back and forth game for a good stretch of the time. 18 first downs for Prairie View, 22 for Grambling, 118 yards rushing for the Panthers, 39 carries, 3 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns, 100 yards rushing for Grambling, 34 carries, 2.9 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns, 185 yards passing for Prairie View, 19 of 29, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. 286 for Grambling through the air, 29 of 48, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 303 yards for Prairie View, 68 plays, 4.5 yards per play. They fumbled twice but didn't lose either. They had 11 penalties for 95 yards and 386 yards for Grambling, 82 plays, 4.7 yards per play. They had 2 fumbles, didn't lose either, and they had 7 penalties for 75 yards, 38.2 yard average for Prairie View on 6 punts, 40.4 yard average for Grambling on 5 punts. Prairie View was 5 of 14 on third down, 0 for 1 on fourth down, 5 of 5 in the red zone with 3 sacks. Grambling 7 of 19 on third down, 1 for 2 on fourth down. They were 5 of 5 in the red zone, and they had 1 sack. Individually, Jaden Johnson was 12 of 18 for Prairie View for 104 yards and 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 1 sack. Cameron Peters was 7 of 11 for 81 yards, no touchdown, 1 interception, no sacks. Miles Crowley, 29 of 48, 286 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 3 sacks. Connor Wisham led Prairie View with 14 carries for 85 yards and 1 touchdown. Johnson, 10 for 22 and 1 touchdown. Hargrove led Grambling with 15 carries for 61 yards, and Talbert 3 for 26 and a touchdown. Savage led Prairie View with 4 catches for 43 yards and a touchdown. Spiller 3 for 43, and Heron 7 for 43. Robinson led Grambling with 6 for 48. Lewis 6 for 47. Aiden Jones led Prairie View with 12 tackles. Also 2 tackles for loss for him. and a half a sack. Uh, Gaffard and Harris each had one sack apiece. Interception was by Franklin and Coleman Jr. Grambling was led by Andrew Jones with 11 tackles. He also had one tackle for loss. Jaden Hardy had 1.5 tackle for loss, and Horton had a sack for Grambling. Interception went to David Jones, and like I said, this game kind of turned some things around for Prairie View. This was a nice bounce back win for them. This was a win they needed. This was a win they had to have. They really could not afford to lose this game and drop to 0-3 in conference and in a division. Grambling loses their first game, so they're 0-1 in conference. But Prairie View is sitting in a pretty decent spot. Still needs some help, but their fate is still kind of there. Next week Grambling is off. They come back on October 12th at home against Alcorn, excuse me. And Prairie View goes out of conference to take on Incarnate Word on the road on Saturday before they get back into conference play on the 19th of October because is that right? No, they come back and play on October 11th on a Friday night. So they go to Incarnate Word on October 5th. Then they turn around and play on October 11th at Pine Bluff. So back-to-back road games for them in a short week. So we'll keep an eye out on all these games. We'll preview the Week 6 action on Wednesday. SWAC Smoke Live on Thursday, and then Sunday is our Week 6 recap. So with that being said, man, I'm your tour guide around the SWAC, C. Wells, signing out, and I will catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.